So I set the camera up and I was like, wow, I actually really like this frame. Like there's heaps more room to move around in. And then I realized when I stand back here, you can see my dad shorts that I wear in every single one of my videos, but you would never know because you never usually see below my waist. Let's complete this look. How's this? Am I dad yet? Hey guys, my name is Angus and today we're doing that tag, what's it called? Book Freakout mid-year tag thingy. I've never done this tag before. Everyone's doing it at the moment, and by the time I get this up, it's probably gonna be really late, but it looks really fun. I feel like this year is the first year that I've actually read a substantial amount of books to be able to participate and like have valid answers, so we're gonna do it. There's like 12 questions I have here that I have to answer. I'm gonna be like running back and forth to my bookshelf because I haven't really read the questions yet, so it's going to be very sporadic. And yeah, you're going to see my dad shorts, so let's just get into it, shall we? So I'm filming this video on like 2 hours sleep because this little gremlin decided that it was playtime all night last night, so here we are. Look at him, look how smug he looks. He really hates this. So the first question is the best book that you've read in 2021. Well, if you watched my last video, you probably already know what I'm gonna say here. I literally just read this and it's now like my favorite book of the year. The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris. This is the proof copy. The finished copy looks like this, or this in the UK and Australia. This is like a thriller. It's actually, I found out the other day, this is actually classified as fiction, not crime fiction, which kind of makes sense because there's no real crime in it, but it is kind of a thriller. It's weird, but this book is set in the publishing world. It's like Devil Wears Prada in the publishing world meets like Get Out. Ah, it's so good, so good. I read this book in a day. It was definitely like an unexpected favorite for me. A lot of people said this is like slow paced, but honestly I was like, this is one of the fastest books I've read this year, so highly recommend. The next question is the best sequel that you've read in 2021. Well, I don't really do sequels. I was looking at my Goodreads the other day and I just realized like I read a lot of standalones. I don't read series anymore, which is weird, but I think there's one sequel that I did read this year that I actually did enjoy, but you're all gonna like not even care about this book because no one cares about this series. It's like down here because I never show it off because no one cares. The Scholar by Dervla McTiernan. I don't know if this counts as a sequel because it's one of those, this is a crime trilogy. Same character, but they're not really connected. They are a little bit, but I'm gonna count it as a sequel. It's like a series of really gritty crime books set in Ireland. The author's actually Australian, and it's just so well written and so good. Like it's gritty, but it's good. And all 3 books are just fantastic. This one's probably the most fun out of the 3. If I remember correctly, because I read this at the start of the year, so I don't remember a lot about it, but it's about like a university where like there's like a hit and run to do with some big pharmaceutical companies that are investing in this technology in this university, and the girl is found with like an ID pass on her that turns out isn't actually her. So who is she? Because her ID is fake, and yeah, it's really good. And I love the main character in these books. He's really grouchy, but I love him. So yeah, that's my answer. No one cares. No one cares about those books though. Like no one I talk to even knows what they are. So cool, good for me. The next question is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to. I've got a few answers for this one. Here it is. Yes Daddy by Jonathan Parks Ramage. I saw my friend Tiernan from the BookTuber talk about this book and he loved it. And as soon as I heard what it's about, I was like, I need to read this. It's like a gay, talented Mr. Ripley, even though talented Mr. Ripley is already very gay. An ambitious young man is lured by an older, successful playwright into a dizzying world of wealth and an idyllic Hamptons home where things take a nightmarish turn. So yeah, it sounds really fun and it's gay. So we love that. The other 2 books, I think they're also both queer. I really want to read Jay's Gay Agenda. It just came out. I'm pretty sure I ordered a copy from work. It's just coming. And the other one is The Taking of Jake Livingston, which there's so much buzz for this book. I don't know anything about this one, but I'm really keen to read it. The next question is your most anticipated release for the rest of the year. I'm not really on top of new releases, so there's only one that comes to mind. I've already boasted about this in my last video. I actually already have a copy of this book. And it comes out in September, I think. And that book is Velvet Was the Night by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is Silvia's like 6th book, I think. I didn't realize she'd written so many books before Mexican Gothic. Mexican Gothic was my first first book by her that I read. I read it last year when it came out and I loved it. I love the way Sylvia writes her characters. So very, very keen to read this one. I'm going to be reading it this month. This is like a neo-noir crime. I said thriller in my last video, but it's not really a thriller. It's very low stakes with like political intrigue. So it's about Mate, whose neighbor goes missing under suspicious circumstances in 1970s Mexico City, and it leads to like some developments due to the political unrest of the time. Super keen for this one. I didn't even know I was going to get a copy of this, and it just showed up and I was so excited. The next question is your biggest disappointment of the year so far. Ooh, okay. I have a lot of answers for this one. I think I can pick out like 3 books for this one. This one. Oh yes, this one. See, I put them all up on the top shelf where they're just out of reach because I hated them so much. So the first book I have is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. I read Peter Swanson's previous book to this, 8 Perfect Murders or Rules for Perfect Murders, and I loved it. And then this is his latest release. It came out in April, I think, and it's about a woman who's about to get married, and then she cheats on her groom, like on her hen's weekend. She goes and gets married, and then they go to their honeymoon, and then the guy she cheated on her groom with shows up at the place that they're honeymooning at, and it's just like very weird, but I honestly, this really missed the mark for me. I feel like it tried to be like a feministy thriller, but just felt like an old man wrote it, which is kind of what it is. Very disappointed. I would not recommend this to anyone. The next book we have is a book I urge everyone to avoid at all costs. Ordinary Hazards by Anna Bruno. I saw this at work and I read the blurb and I was like, oh, it sounds cool. Sounds fun. And then I read the book and it infuriated me. The like level of first world problems in this book is insane. Nothing happens in this book. It's over like one night. Each chapter is a different hour. And we just watch this main character with her very privileged life, just like whining about really annoying stuff that I'm like, one of those characters that just is so self-absorbed that I just hated. So I would urge you to avoid this at all costs. Not worth your time. Nothing happens. And then my third answer, this is probably the most disappointing for me because I was super keen for this book, is Sanatorium by Sarah Pearce. This book is so boring. It is the epitome of like a very poorly written thriller. Like, I feel like this was written by a 12-year-old. Honestly, I'm sorry, Sarah Pearce, but this sucked. This book takes place in a sanatorium that's been converted into a hotel. The main character is like a ex-police officer who is going to her brother's wedding at this sanatorium slash hotel. Some murders start happening and then they're all like themed around the things that used to happen at the sanatorium. And then the characters get snowed in and it's like people being killed off one by one. But it was just so boring and so just like unearned. Oh, so bad. I'm most disappointed by the people that are endorsing this on the back and the front. That really irks me when some of my favorite authors endorse a book that I'm like, this is trash. You've obviously been paid to write this and you just, I don't know. Did we read the same book? That's what I want to know. So those are my 3 books for you to avoid this year. Oh my God, that was a long rant. So the next question is the biggest surprise for you for this year. I want to say this again because the other Black Girls, I was so surprised that I enjoyed this. I picked this up on a whim. I wasn't going to read this and I was having a conversation at work about it. And then I was going away for the weekend and we had a reader lying around. So I just picked it up. I was like, yeah, I kind of need a cozy like read for the weekend. And it was not cozy at all, but it was amazing. Like, isn't that just the best feeling when you pick up a book randomly and it turns out to be your favorite book of the year? So I'm 100% guaranteeing this is going to be on my list at the end of the year for my favorite books. So stay tuned for that. But there is another book, Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I read this at the start of the year when it came out, I think in January. I had a proof and it's just kind of lying around. And then another book that I blew me away, which I guess is the point of this question, is to list books that blew you away because that was surprising. But this is so much fun. It's like a middle grade urban fantasy kind of situation, like Percy Jackson meets Men in Black, about this girl who discovers her missing brother was part of this supernatural bureau of investigators, and she goes and joins them and just goes on a fun magical adventure. It's excellent, and the film rights have already been sold to Universal, I believe, so it's going to make an excellent film. I believe this is going to be like a 5-book series, so I'm really keen to keep reading. The next question is your favorite new author. This can be a debut author or an author who is new to you. This is hard because I haven't really found an author that I've latched onto this year. I almost want to say Ruth Ware, but I know that she's got some bad books too that I am avoiding. And I want to say, you know what? I want to say this book again. I'm never going to shut up about this book. I want to say this again, but I shouldn't. You know what? Bonnie Sue Hitchcock is a hell of a Writer. This was fantastic. Everyone Dies Famous in a Small Town. It's a collection of YA short stories. This is my first book of hers. And oh my god, she's an amazing writer. The way she can just like pull at my heartstrings until I am overwhelmed with emotions is insane. As I said, it's a collection of short stories, all set in small towns across the west coast of America. They all kind of weave together, but my favorite part about this is the characters. They are some of the best YA characters I've seen. Very good, very good. Definitely a standout in terms of writing characters and just construction of a story world. Okay, the next question is newest fictional crush. And for this one, I'm gonna have to say Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. You know, just like a serial killer, straight white man, working on Wall Street. Oh, marry me. I had you there, didn't I? No, definitely not Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Definitely not that. I don't really have an answer for this one. I don't really crush on book characters really at all. I'm very much single in my life, and I would like to be that way for a long time. So there's no room for any man in my life, whether they're fictional or real. So I'm gonna have to skip this question, I think. The next question is newest favorite character. Ooh. Let's do, I think I have a good answer for this one too. Where is it? Connor Major from Surrender Your Sons. It was just so refreshing to have a fun, sassy, headstrong, brave, gay main character. He was so much fun. And speaking of fictional crushes, based off his personality alone, I would probably date him. So yeah. The next question is a book that made you cry. I don't often cry reading books, but now thinking about it, there are two books that come straight to mind that I have cried reading this year. So the first book is Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. The ending of this book, I was crying tears of joy. Fantastic. If you haven't read this book, please go and read it. Please go and read it. It's my favorite queer book of this year so far. So good. I cannot recommend this book enough to you. So good. And then the other one, surprisingly, is a horror book that I didn't cry tears of fear at. It had some really nice heart-touching moments. Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. I love this book. It almost is my favorite of the year, but The Other Black Girl just kind of bumped it out of the way. This just has some fantastic characters, and the main character and his mum and their relationship just made me cry because it's so sweet and so good. It is a dark book, but there are some really heartwarming parts of this book. So it's very big too. It's like 700 pages, so it's a commitment, but it's a commitment to a good book. The next question is a book that made you happy. I don't know about this question because like if it's a good book, I'm gonna be happy, and there were a lot of good books I read this year. One that does really come to mind is a book that I'm reading right now. I read off a whim because I watched the first 2 episodes of the Disney Plus adaptation of it, and I loved it. Oh my god. The Mysterious Benedict Society. This is a middle fiction book. It came out so long ago. I didn't realize how old this book is. Like 2007. It's like a middle fiction. This group of orphans go and do this test. They think they're going to this like selective school, but it turns out they're joining this secret society who are trying to stop what's called the emergency, which is like this fear-mongering thing that's happening across the city. It's a little bit like A Series of Unfortunate Events in terms of like the tones, the way it's written, but it's excellent. I'm really enjoying it. I'm like halfway. I picked it up because I got 3 episodes into the show, and I was like, I need to know now. I can't wait till Friday for another episode to come out, so I just started reading the book, and it was a good decision. I'm happy with my decision. The next question is the most beautiful book that you've got this year. There have been a lot of beautiful books this year. Prosper's Demon, I absolutely love this cover. I bought this recently. I wish it was a hardcover, but I understand why it's not. It's just like 80 pages long, but look at that cover. I mean, some that I've shown you I really enjoy the covers of, but let's pick something new. A lot of people have answered this question in their videos, and a lot of the ones they've said I probably would say, but so I'm gonna go with something a little bit different. Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. This is a bit of an odd choice for me, but I absolutely love the cover design on this one. Fantastic. It's photo-based, but I think it works so well, and the colors, I read this last year. It's a fantastic book. This is like Fleabag meets Sally Rooney. It's so good. You have to read this. I mean, this is also really pretty. And this one I also really love. The Night Always Comes by Willie Lawton. Beautiful photo-based cover. I think that's something I'm really enjoying this year is photo-based covers that are just like so simplistic, but just do the absolute most. Okay, and the last question today is a book you have to read by the end of the year. And for this one, I know exactly what it is. House of Leaves. I know a lot of people read this earlier in the year for Kayla's book club. I initially bought this with the intention of reading it for her book club, but didn't read it, and I'm still haven't picked it up. It's an absolute commitment. This book is written in like crazy format, it's insane, all over the place. It takes a long time to read apparently. I'm just really intrigued. It's like supposed to be one of the scariest horror books ever in like a very not supernatural suburban setting. So I'm really interested, and so I'm really keen to read this one. Definitely the one that I really want to read by the end of the year. Alrighty, that's it. That's the end of the, what is this called? Freak Out book tag. Can you see how sleep deprived? Do I look sleep deprived? I feel like I do a little bit, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I don't have anything else to say, so I'll see you next time in another video. Bye.